Hey, good morning, and good noon, good afternoon, whatever it is where you are. Anyways, today is Harness the Web on Thursday, and we go live, as you know, every Thursday at noon, or most Thursdays. So one of the things that we wanted to do today, we don't have a specific topic in mind. We do have one coming up next week, a really good interview coming, and we're going to be talking about LinkedIn advertising. It's a thing that a lot of people are afraid of and don't use. But we're going to have a specialist on next week, so you're going to want to catch that. Well, in the meantime, today, what I thought we'd do is just take a few minutes and go back and look at some of the questions that have been submitted in our most recent Ask campaign, right? So every once in a while, we'll go to our list and we'll send out a campaign that says, hey, tell me, what's the most challenging thing that you have about using the internet or about using LinkedIn, question like that. And these were some questions that came in, and a couple of them I've grouped together. We get a lot. So some people think that people don't answer these questions, which was actually one of the questions that I got. And right here, I'm going to say I got 4 pages, and then I also have another little thing with, I don't know, however many pages you think this might be, right? So about maybe 500 in there. But here's out of here. So anyways, I picked a couple today I thought we could go over. Then the first one is really good because it is, where do you start, right? And they ask it a couple different ways, and I'll just read those to you so that you have an idea. So where do you start? Where do I even begin? Where's the best place for me to start? And what's the best way to get started? And what are the 3 most important things to consider when updating your LinkedIn profile? Now, why does that fit into where do I start? Well, really, the place to start is what do you want to do? What do you want to really use LinkedIn for? And who do you want to communicate with? Who is your ideal prospect, or who's the ideal prospect you're going for on LinkedIn? It doesn't have to be all your prospects. You want to pick a focus, something that you can define by the parameters that LinkedIn gives you. So one thing to do is go into the search criteria in LinkedIn and kind of look and how can I search for people? Most of the people I work with either search by geography, right? It might be by city or state, or it might be the United States or some other country. Like I worked with a client, and everybody there, we searched in Australia, and actually the cities and down to the zip codes within Australia. And in that case, we had to use LinkedIn Navigator to get down to that deep. But so I guess the first thing is you want to talk about who it is you want to reach, right? And what kind of problems do they have? You want to make sure you know that. Who is it that I'm trying to reach? Who do I help? And what kind of problem do they have? And again, it's who do I want to help using LinkedIn? So you might want to be specific about who you're going to try to target on LinkedIn. But anyway, you want to do that first. Then I'm going to assume you have that done. If you don't, get a hold of me. We have a couple exercises we can do with you that'll help you get through that process relatively quick, at least help you get focused. So then, now, assuming that you have that, what do we want to do? The best place to start, if you have an account, is to go and review your LinkedIn profile. If your profile isn't good, anything else we're going to talk about isn't going to be that effective, because your LinkedIn profile plays a very critical role in using LinkedIn in a direct response marketing kind of way, right? Because we're not going to be salesy in our outreaches on LinkedIn, but LinkedIn will tend to have people, people will tend to go and look at your profile to find out more about you. So that's where we're going to tell them some stuff, right? Some critical stuff. Now, what do we want to tell them? Well, on LinkedIn, here's the things you want to make sure. One, you want to make sure you have a good profile picture of you, not you in a group, not you and your kids, not you doing a keg stand at the frat party. We want a picture of you so that if people see you, they might recognize you. So let's say you go out to the store on the weekend and somebody else is in a store, we'd want them to actually know, oh, that's the guy that I saw on LinkedIn. I want to talk to him, right? So you want them to be able to recognize you. And a lot of people, I'm like this, if someone doesn't have a profile or doesn't have a good profile, I tend to discount them, right? And you don't want that happening to you. So the first one is have a good profile picture. Doesn't have to be in a suit and tie, right? Or, formal gown or anything like that. It can just be a nice professional looking picture, right? So that's one. Two, the next thing you really want to focus on is your professional headline. And that shows up under your name. It shows up all over LinkedIn. And, people do searches and basically any place other than just your profile, what shows up is your picture, your name, and your professional headline. So your professional headline wants to be something that's going to be attractive to people. Now, if let's say you sell real estate, if you put down real estate agent, or you sell insurance and you put down insurance agent, or you sell cars and you put down auto sales, well, people are going to know if you know that they'll get that, oh, that's what you do. But if you go on LinkedIn and you put in that phrase, you're going to find thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people who have that same title. So you're not going to stand out. So what you want to do is you want to really work on that professional headline, that little professional headline, and you want to use as much of that real estate as you can, right? That makes sense. And you want to answer these questions. Who do I help? So that goes back to what we first talked about. Who are the people I'm targeting on LinkedIn? Who do I help? And what value do I provide for them? I'll give you an example. I help home buyers find beachfront property in name of the town, right? I find, as I'm an insurance agent, I help elderly folks, I help 55 plus individuals find the best insurance deals, to enter their retirement years. The kinds of things that if that's you, so it speaks to the person who's your target, right? So that's what you want to do. You want to make sure that speaks to the person that you want to reach, right? So that, and don't assume that they know anything, right? When they see it, you want them to get, you want them to answer this. You want them to sort of react this way. Oh, this is for me. I need to read more, right? And now when to read more, what's that mean? Oh, now it comes down to the next most critical thing on your LinkedIn profile is your summary section. So in your summary section, it's kind of like free form. You can put in all kinds of text. You want to do something similar to the headline, right? You're going to answer some questions in that, right? They don't have to written as questions, but you want to answer these, get these questions answered in there. What do I do? What value do I provide, right? What value do I provide? Who do I provide the value for? A little bit about yourself to make you human, right? You want to be human, so you put something in that makes you human so that you're not just anyways, you put something that makes you human. I did one for a guy one time, and he was an HVAC guy, and what we put in for him, and it was him. It was, it's like, hey, my wife thinks I'm funny. I don't know if I am, right? That's all it took. But enough to put in, and it fit in everything else we were saying. So it just makes him real. It makes him a real person, which you want to be a real person. Now, something people forget in this area is they forget to write about, or they forget to put in a call to action. And the call to action, you want to be explicit. You want to tell people what to do. Hey, give me a call at this number. A lot of people today use a link to schedule an appointment. Hey, go here, click this link to schedule an appointment so we can talk. Hey, I have this great download for you, or this video training. I have something that should be enticing to you. That's it, right? So I want to have something enticing to the person who's reading so that they'll take a step towards me. The entire LinkedIn is really about, and when you talk to me more, you'll see that my approach on LinkedIn is I want to make it attractive. And one of the things I want to have happen is I want the other person moving towards me, right? I want them to call me. I want them to schedule an appointment with me. I want them reaching me. I don't want me reaching them. It's interesting. Think about it. Makes a big difference, right? So when it's, 2:00 in the afternoon and you have an appointment, the phone rings and you're saying, hey, how can I help you? It's way different than you saying, hey, this is Steve Peck. We scheduled an appointment and you kind of sound like you're trying to sell something. You're not trying to sell something. You're trying to build a relationship on LinkedIn. So in any case, those are the big things you want to do. You want to make sure you have a good profile picture. You want to get a professional headline. You really want to work on that. And you don't want it to be a standard headline like your job title. You want it to be communicate some value and who you really provide the value for, right? And then the next thing you really want to focus on is your summary section. You want to have a good summary section that kind of sells you and why the person should take whatever the call to action is, right? So you want to make yourself attractive so they'll take the next step. That's really what it's about. And later on, as we talk about other things, you'll see that we're going to use your profile as kind of a landing point. So people maybe respond to a message and they're going to say, oh, I want to find out more about this person. I want to find more about you. So as me, you'd say, hey, I want to find out more about Steve. You'd click on my name and you'd go to my profile and read about me, right? And there's lots more you can do with the profile. But those are the three things. If you have those things in there, you're ready to go. Okay? So that's where do you get started? You want to make sure if you already have it, you want to review it and make sure it fits with who your ideal prospect is. Review your message, right? And then you're going to want to be able to measure how effective it is. So if you're not getting connections, you're not getting people responding, one of the key areas is going to be looking at your profile. So that's the first question we wanted to answer today. The next question is a lot different. This question is, how do I take my business international using the power of the internet? It's a great question. And I wish I had my co-host here, Bobby D, who is actually, I'm in the United States. When I first met Bobby D, I was in Pennsylvania. I'm now in Delaware. But Bob is in Brazil. He's in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, at Copacabana Beach. I met Bob on LinkedIn. How? Because I reached out to people who he was in my profile, right, in terms of who I wanted to connect with. And I searched, for people like that in Brazil, right? If I wanted to connect with people in England, I would just search for people who match my profile who are from England. So it's really great. It's really the same process you'd use in anything, but you would just change your geographic targeting to be in a country that you want to reach people in, right? And we talk, later we can talk about, how do you do that? Like, how do you reach out to somebody? How do you build a relationship on LinkedIn, which is the goal, right? So when you're talking to me, one of the things you're going to hear is the goal is to build a relationship. And from the relationship, now you can build business, if it makes sense, right? And you'll be surprised where you didn't think there was any business. You build a relationship and it works, right? It comes down later. It's no different than offline, right? So if you, it's a philosophy, it's a frame of mind about building relationship and providing value to other people. And when you do that, you become attractive. And when you become attractive, you draw the people to you. And like we talked about in your profile, you have your call to action. In the call to action, it brings people towards you. They start making the step, and then you give them the next step, right? I'm going to tell you a real quick story. I may have told this story before. It's actually from Dean Jackson. It's if you want a squirrel to eat out of your hand, right? I'd be afraid I'd get bit right off the bat, right? But let's say I wanted a squirrel to eat out of my hand. You can do it. It's a doable thing. You can make that happen. Well, what do? You take a bag of potato chips, go out in the yard, wave them at the potato or at the squirrel. You're in the park sitting on the bench, waving at the squirrel, and the squirrel probably is going to run the other way. But if you take, the squirrel's hanging out by the bottom of the tree, you take and you place a potato chip there, and then you place another one a few feet closer to you, another one a few more feet closer to you, another one a few feet closer, and then go sit down. What happens is the squirrel makes his way over to you. He's attracted to you because you've given him something of value, the potato chips. And in that same process, you've reduced his feeling of risk, his feeling of anxiety, his fear of connecting with you, of really, having a relationship with you. So the squirrel moves over to the point where now the squirrel is taking a potato chip out of your hand because he's built trust. You've built trust with the squirrel. So anyways, for today, that's Harness the Web. We're glad you were here. We're happy that you were able to come and join us today. So until next time, remember, next Thursday for Harness the Web, we have a special guest, and we're going to be talking about LinkedIn advertising. It's something I don't know a lot about, actually. I do a lot of work on LinkedIn, but I've only done a little teeny bit about LinkedIn advertising. Know lots about Facebook advertising, but not LinkedIn. So I'm really looking forward to that. So, hey, have a great day.